paste it, put it in my paper. Who cares who wrote it? Your instructor cares. Just as easy as it was for you to copy and paste it into your paper, your instructor can go to Google and type in that paragraph, and what do you think is going to come up? Where you got it. And what does that mean? Plagiarism. Google is a great plagiarism checker. I mean, there are others, there's others, and they can be used. A lot of institutions have them, and we will eventually get one, I'm sure. But in the meantime, if you can cut and paste it from something you found on Google, we can type it into Google and find the same thing. Is it worth it? No. Copying from several different sources, for instance, you combined this and this and this and this and this, and you put it in one paper, and you expect that that instructor is not going to recognize that that's different sources. It's easy to recognize. For one thing, we know that there's probably only one or two geniuses in here, of which I'm taking up one of those spaces. So, and I'm kidding, I'm not. But what I'm saying is, we have a certain level of talking and writing, whether you're right out of high school or whether you've been out a few years and are coming back and doing another career. You are probably not going to write at the level that an article that you choose to copy would be at. If a physician writes it, or if a brain surgeon, whatever, or a nursing person with a doctorate, whatever. Your speech and your writing ability, and mine too, is probably not going to be at that level. So those passages that are copied and pasted stick out like a sore thumb. Don't take a chance on them. It's not worth it. Are you getting sick of me saying that? Well, don't, because I'm going to say it a few more times. All right. Some people think they can get away with just changing a few keywords or phrases, retaining the original content. They might, put a phrase, reverse it, the sentence, whatever. You're not changing the majority of it. That's plagiarism. I'm sorry. That's plagiarism if you don't credit the source. You don't have to have everything in direct quotes. You know that. You're not going to put everything in direct quotes. But taking that person's idea and just changing it around a little is still plagiarism. Don't get caught doing that. Paraphrasing most of the paper from other works. In other words, you're putting it in different words, but it's still plagiarism. Why? Because you've not given that author credit for the ideas that they had. Okay? And then borrowing from a writer's own work. And this kills me. A lot of people don't realize this. You can plagiarize yourself. Okay? You can plagiarize yourself. If you borrow from your own work that you did last semester, or whenever, or again, you get up and you think, oh, this is due tomorrow, I'm just going to turn in that paper from so-and-so, they won't ever know it. That's plagiarism, and don't take, they might know it. They really might know it, so don't take a chance on it. Institutions generally will have a policy, and whether or not you picked up on it, it was in our policy. You don't use previous work. You come up with your own new paper. All right, this is when plagiarism happens, when sources are cited. They mean well, but they didn't do it correctly. Mentions an author's name for the source, but you don't, but not the source citation. In other words, you've got to cite it completely. You can't just say Joe Blow came up with this idea in 1994. You've got to go through the APA process of citing it. If you give inaccurate information regarding the source, this is where a lot of people just get caught on careless mistakes. They've got all these sources listed, and they get them goofed up, and they accidentally write that this author wrote this article and this is where I got this from, and it's not. Be diligent about double checking everything, because it is considered plagiarism if you don't cite it correctly. I find that scary, but again, I'm cautioning you, proofread everything and double check everything to make sure you get it right. Proper citation of a source, but not including quotation marks. That's one of the biggies. You know, if you directly quote something, you've got to put it in direct quotation marks, and then cite it. Proper citations, paraphrasing, and quotation marks are used correctly. The entire paper is paraphrased or quoted, but there are no original thoughts or work in it. Now, this is kind of hard for some people to understand, but believe it or not, your instructors want to know what you think about something. They want you to support your idea with other sources that you cite, but they also want to know your thoughts. So you must put your thoughts in your paper, okay? That's hard to do. I always found it hard to do because I felt like it was tooting my own horn, and I'm not a person that does that. But I learned you have to, when you're presenting a work of research, okay, you have to, some type of paper, you have to put your original thoughts in there. Proper quotes and sources for some material, paraphrased other material without credit being given to any of the original authors. That is plagiarism. Here are some examples of plagiarism we're going to run through. Now, this is a statement from Elaine Tyler May's Myth and Realities of the American Family. Because women's wages often continue to reflect the fiction that men earn the family wage, single mothers rarely earn enough to support themselves and their children adequately. And because work is still organized around the assumption that mothers stay home with children, even though few mothers can afford to do so, child care facilities in the United States remain woefully inadequate. That's the original, and you can see the ideas that this woman had. All right, here are some ideas. I want you to decide if it's plagiarism or not, and I'll give you a hint. The answer's at the bottom of the screen, okay? Version A, since women's wages often continue to reflect the mistaken notion that men are the main wage earners, I'm sorry, I can't read. Wage earners in the family, single mothers rarely make enough to support themselves and their children very well. Also because work is still based on the assumption that mothers stay home with children, facilities for the child care remain woefully inadequate in the United States. Sounds quite a bit like that other one, doesn't it? Do you see anything that would in any way make you think that this has been cited? No, there's nothing there. They didn't use quotes. They didn't cite it in the way it's supposed to be. They might have paraphrased some of it, but it's got its own, the idea of the other one is still there. All right, is this plagiarism or not? Yes, it's plagiarism. There's too much direct borrowing in the sentence structure and wording. The writer does change some words, drops one phrase completely, adds some new language, but overall it's still very much like the original. Even with a citation, the writer is still plagiarizing because of the lack of quotation marks indicates that this version is a paraphrase and should be in the writer's own language. Okay? Here's another version. As Elaine Tyler May points out, women's wages, I saw some quotation marks. Women's wages often continue to reflect the fiction that men earn the family wage. Quotation marks closed and a page number. Thus, many single mothers cannot support themselves and their children adequately. Furthermore, since work is based on the assumption that mothers stay home with children, facilities for daycare in this country are still woefully inadequate. Again, the author's name and a page number. Is this plagiarism? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The writer now cites May, that's the plus. And so we're closer to telling the truth about our text relationship to the source, but this continues to be too much the idea of May, and there's nothing in there of the new author's thoughts. So yes, it's plagiarism. Version C. By and large, our economy still operates on the mistaken notion that men are the main breadwinners in the family. Thus, women continue to earn lower wages than men. This means, in effect, that many single mothers cannot earn a decent living. Furthermore, adequate daycare is not available in the United States because of the mistaken assumption that mothers remain at home with their children. What do you think? It is still plagiarism. What? No new ideas are cited, and I don't see anything in there, even that they paraphrased it. Did they give credit to the original author of these ideas? No. This version shows good paraphrasing of wording and sentence structure, but May's original ideas are not acknowledged. Some of May's points are common knowledge, such as you can prove that women earn less than men, or that many single mothers live on poverty. You could go to 5 different credible sources and prove that, couldn't you? So that's considered common knowledge. It's okay to use it, not cite. However, May is using this common knowledge to make her point, which is that original idea that there's not enough child care facilities, okay? So yes, it's plagiarism. Here's version D. Women today still earn less than men, so much less that many single mothers and their children live near or below the poverty line. Elaine Tyler May argues that this situation stems in part from the fiction that men earn the family wage, page number given. May further suggests that the American workplace still operates on the assumption that mothers with children stay home to care for them, page number. This assumption, in my opinion, does not have the force it once did. More and more businesses offer in-house daycare facilities. Did something stand out in that to you? What? In my opinion. That is what they want to see. The instructors want to see, what do you think about this? Sure, use all this other stuff to support it, cite it, but then give your opinion in it. What do you think? Is this plagiarism? No. Good guess, because it is the last one. The writer makes use of the common knowledge in May's work, but acknowledges May's original conclusion and does not try to pass it off as his or her own. The quotation is properly cited, as is a later paraphrase of another of May's ideas. Now, how do we avoid plagiarism? Here are some good ideas for you. Put quotation marks around everything that comes directly from another text. You already knew that. Paraphrase, but don't just rearrange a few words or replace a few words. Here's how you can paraphrase. This is a good little way to help you paraphrase. You read over the original. Then you cover it up with a piece of paper. And you simply write out on a piece of paper your idea about what you just read. Like, what do you think that said? Okay, you can't peek. You can't go back and look at it. Write it out in your words. And then check your paraphrase passage against the original passage, looking for, did you use some of the same phrases or words? Did you give correct information? That's how you paraphrase. Must you cite your paraphrase work? Yes, because that's not your work. That's your paraphrase work of someone else's idea. Okay, got it? It's just a good way to keep you from, you can't quote your entire paper with quotation marks. You've got to paraphrase some of it and cite those sources as well, and then you have to give your own ideas. All right. Some more tips. Learn and practice good research skills. You should have gotten a lot of this in junior high and high school. You should have written some term papers in high school. Only difference in these is they're going to be a little bit harder. The topics are going to be harder. You're expected to do a little more. Use all the research tools that are available to you. Don't just go to the internet. And my biggest pet peeve is don't just Google it. I can't tell you how many times I've had physicians come in and say, well, I was trying to find this, but I couldn't find it on Google, and I just want to look at them and say, you will never treat me or anyone in my family if you are getting your information from Google. Google is what we call a meta database. Okay? Meta meaning humongous, big, everything's in it. Is there medical information in it? Yes. Is there other information that might not be credible? Yes. Is there other medical information in it that might not be credible? Yes. I mean, you can Google and get almost anything, can't you? I mean, let's face it, we've all tried to Google something and got on one of those websites that you look around and say, did you see that? And get out of it real quick. Some of you may not have gotten out of it real quick, but I do. Okay? Google contains a lot of information that is not what we consider credible. Google is not there to provide you with medical information. Now, they're working on what they say is a database for Google that is good, but it's not going to be Google. It's going to be Google Medicine. It's a totally different database. You want to go to credible sources such as medical databases. One of the best ones you can go to if you need to find an article, go to PubMed.gov. Okay? PubMed.gov. Now, this is when you can use Google. You don't know how to find PubMed.gov? Go to Google, type in pub, P-U-B, as in public, not a place to get liquor, PubMed.gov, and it'll be the first one on the list. It is a medical database. It's free. You can use it on your home computer. Now, it is one that's designed simply to find out articles. Is it going to give you the article? Not always. But hey, I work here. I can do that for you. You just let me know which article you want. Okay? PubMed is a good one. There are some other good medical databases that you can use. You have to be careful though. If you're not sure, don't use it. Okay? All right. Don't just Google it. Do not cut and paste. We've gone over that, haven't we? As easy as it is for you to cut and paste, who else can do check it? Your instructor. I have caught many people plagiarizing because I just typed in what I thought, there's no way they could have written that sentence. Okay? Make use of the library. Now, I don't have a real library yet. I did at the hospital, but they moved me over here. And I'd rather be over here because you are the people that I really want to get in with and work with. I still do research for doctors and nurses at the hospital. But I can do their research and send them what they want. I can bring you in and teach you how to do research, how to find your articles. So that when you get over there or wherever you are, you can just call me and say, hey, I found this article and it is just what I need to show this physician I'm working with. Can you get it for me? Yes, sir, I sure can. Yes, ma'am. Give me whatever it is and I'll tell you what I need. Okay? Right now, when you get ready to write your papers, I'm in 1504. Maggie is my assistant. She's there half-time. We're in 1504. Come in. Let me work with you. I'll teach you how to use PubMed, how to use EBSCO, how to use Ovid, how to use all of these other medical databases. PubMed is one you can use at home. Let me teach you how. You can use it at home and then email me what you need. Ovid and all that you'll have to use here, but we've got them on Moodle, and we've got tutorials that tell you how to use them, or you can come into my office and we'll show you how to use them. Okay, so don't just think, I don't know what to do. We're here to help you. I don't, now hear me on this, I don't ever want to hear that any one of you paid for an article. You hear me? When you're doing your research, you're going to come across some and you'll try to link to it, and then that publisher's website is going to say, sure, we'll send you the article for about $35 to $85, $125. Don't do it. Where can you come? Let us do it. We're free share. We're free share, which means I send some access to articles. I send the article to libraries all over the world. And in return, I ask for articles from libraries all over the world, mostly in the United States and Canada, but we have sent some to some very far away places. If you need something, let us get it for you. School costs a lot already, how well you know. Let us get it. Do not pay for an article. I'm going to give you my email at the end, so you write it down, and you will have my email or Maggie's email. Send it to us if you find an article that you need, and we will send it back to you, okay? All right. Make use of the library, or in this case, the library office. Allow yourself enough time for researching, reading, note-taking, outlining, writing, citing, and proofreading. That's a whole lot. That means you can't wait till the night before and expect to write a credible paper, can you? The minute your instructor gives you the assignment, you need to start thinking about what your topic is. If they assign the topic or if you get to choose, think about it. Even if it's group work, I've sat down with lots of groups. Come in, we'll help you. We won't tell you which articles you need. I will show you how to look on the databases, Maggie will. You go out to whatever, the Learning Resource Center or wherever you can. Find the article you need, the name, the citation, or in PubMed's case, it's just a number you have to have, the PubMed number at the bottom. Find it, get us that information, and we will email that article right back to you, if we can get it. If we can't without cost, and believe me, every once in a while I can't, what I will do is I will try to find you an article that's as similar as I can. In other words, same topic, that kind of thing, okay? There are tricks to using databases such as setting your limits. That's why I want you to let us show you how. So you won't have to, again, I can't tell you how many physicians have sent me citations and said, I really need this article. And I get to it and I find the article and it's in Dutch or Portuguese or whatever. And I just have to email them back or call them back and say, do you know how to read Dutch or Portuguese? Then I'm sorry. This article is not for you. I will try to find them another article. But that's why you need to learn how to set your limits so you don't get into that situation. All right. Evaluate your information sources. Now the domains, you know what I mean by domain, what follows the period after on the URL. The domains with .edu, .gov, .mil, and .org are typically the types of resources that are web pages that you, or websites that you will want to use. Does Google have one of those? What is Google? Google.com. .com, no. You know why? .com is sponsored. They have people that actually pay them. Haven't you just gotten so frustrated by doing a search on Google and all these ads are there before you can even get to what you searched for? that means these people that have put ads on there have paid Google. Now, that's not, I mean, it's okay for Google to do that, but it means that Google is not a credible source because they can be influenced by these sponsors, okay? So don't just Google it. Check on your domains. You know what all of these mean. So just make sure that you're using websites that are from one of these domains. All right, when you use electronic sources that give you this information, make sure that you can find this information. For instance, the author's name and title or position. A lot of people will go to Google and they'll find a paper on Google and they want to use part of it in their as one of their resources, but I will tell you that a lot of papers, and when I say papers, I mean research papers. A lot of papers that are on Google are dissertations from somebody or, you know, some type of research paper, but they haven't even necessarily been approved yet. So you can't use those. You might find the author's name, but you're not going to find where it was published. You're not going to find a lot of the information that you're going to need. The title and position of the author, the organizational affiliation, the date or page of that current version, and the author's and or organization's contact information. You have to be very careful. Don't just use, you know, someone's research paper simply because it's on the internet. You want to find it in a journal, or, you know, PubMed would be okay. Any of the databases, medical databases that we use would be okay. And to find this information, a lot of times you will have to look way down at the bottom of the web page, and it might be some of that in tiny, tiny print, such as the updated version, the date given. You have to really look things over to find it. Okay. Here's a test that you can use to see if you actually have it. Think it's a credible source, if you actually have one. We call it the CARS test, C-A-R-S. C stands for credibility. Credibility means that you can identify the author, the source, and the sponsoring organization clearly named on that web page. Okay? It's there. Accuracy means the date of the document and revision. There's no bias in the language of the document. That's why we use those certain domains. They're not going to be biased. Reasonableness. The argument is fair. The writer does not show conflict of interest. No advertising. If it's a medical journal article, at some point, whether it's at the beginning or at the end, the author should designate, there's a little section called conflict of interest. And it will either say the author admits no conflict of interest, or it will say the author, you know, works for such and such a thing, which might be one of the things that was included in the article. You know, it might be a medical equipment company that he works for as an advisor. And so he would have to, by law, claim that if he wrote the article and there was a conflict of interest. So always look for your conflicts of interest. Sometimes it's at the very end where the summary, right before the reference page. You just have to search for these things. Make sure there's no advertising, because if there's advertising, then it's not an article, you know, it's not a credible source. And then support. But make sure that the source provides the documentation of sources such as the bibliography. The source can be corroborated by 2 other sources. In other words, this is an article on a research project that someone did, and you can find that that source is a legitimate one by looking at other sources. You may have to look at, you know, you want to know if this journal is a credible one. You may have to do a little research on it if you don't know that journal off the top of your head. Okay. Citing. Make sure that you know how to cite appropriately. We use the APA style. This, I think, is on the back of your little quiz. Make sure that you're using the newest edition if you have it in print. But if you don't have a book in print, you can always go to the website. It's always updated. All major universities have online citation helps. Duke, Purdue, all of those have, okay? And I've given you the OWL at Purdue there. And then these sites will also have helps to avoid plagiarism, just like I gave you some tips. They will also have helps to avoid plagiarism. Oops, references, just like I expect you to or we expect you to, I have to do a reference and cite anything that I've used in this PowerPoint, so you'll see all of the things that I've used. All right, here we go. Answers to the quiz. Using something found on the internet for a class assignment is always okay. False. We know it's false. We just learned that. Giving an incorrect reference for information I use as plagiarism. True. Even if you didn't mean, even if it's just like a typo, it can be counted as plagiarism. That's why we proofread. If I download something from the internet and change a few words or phrases, I can use that information as my own for a class assignment. False. You got to cite it. It is impossible for someone else to find something that I have taken from the internet and used as my own work. False, because just as easy as it is for you to take it from the internet, your instructor can find it on the internet. Any information that is available in electronic form is free for me to use in any way I desire. False, not without citing it, and it's not necessarily credible. Copyright laws do not apply to information found on the internet. That's false. Copyright laws apply to anything that's copyrighted. And there is lots of material on the internet that's copyrighted. It is very easy for someone to search on the internet to find not only the source for an entire paper or article, but even to find sentences or paraphrase sentences. That's true. It's very easy. It is very easy to find papers on the internet and use them as my own. That's true. In fact, believe it or not, there are companies and people that will make themselves available to people. Hey, you need a paper on such and such a topic? Give me about $100 and I'll send it to you. Is that a good idea? No, because you have no idea. It's not your work. First of all, you're breaking the code. And then you don't know whether they plagiarized it or not. It's not worth it, people. Don't take a chance. Plus, you're blowing a bunch of money. I do not have to cite the source of numerical data or graphs because it is common knowledge. That's false. If you do, you can use a graph from another source or a table or whatever, but you've got to cite it because that is work that someone else created, okay? If I am found guilty of academic dishonesty, it can mean suspension or dismissal from school. That is very true, so don't take the chance. All right, here's our contact information. Just call, if you're here, just call 2671, but if you're out, call 202-2671. That's the main number for the library. Email rita.reed@baptist-health.org. Maggie is Margaret.speck-kern@baptist-health.org. We've just moved to 1504. We're usually there 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Because it is such a small space, you may need to call and find a time, let us find a time that we're not doing something else or we're not in a meeting or whatever. So you can set up an appointment with us and we can work with you. And it's okay if you bring in, more than one person, but if you have a group of 10, I can tell you we don't have room for that. Just bring in 2 or 3 in a group and we'll work with you. Okay? What did I tell you I didn't ever want you to do? Don't pay for any articles. That is so important. I don't want you to waste your money like that. Any questions? You guys have been great. I know it's been semi-boring.
Thank you. Do you know what you're supposed to do after this?